Right, and here we are back again with part 3 of Race is Over, What's Next. I must apologize for this delayed broadcast because I got back pretty late yesterday and was, well, pretty much knocked out till today. Now, if you recall what we learned before I left Singapore, I talk about recovery markers on what you can use to monitor your recovery after your races during your training, and that your muscle soreness or how fast your muscle soreness goes away is actually a pretty good indicator of how good your recovery really is. I also spent some time sharing with you about cross training. What are the different types of cross training and how they can be engaged during your off season or even your in season as part of your running program. So as we move along to chapter 3 today, along with the next session on chapter 4, I'm going to spend some time talking quite a fair bit about sports psychology 101. The strategies that you can engage in preparation and in your planning for your race in 2014. Now let's take a look at these statistics that I have here. Are you able to identify where do you stand? The data shows that only 3% of the population are highly successful, and that this 3% happen to be the group that actually had written down their goals. And so today I'm going to talk quite a bit about goal planning. Why do you plan goals, and what really is goal planning? A lot of time people have really no idea how to go about planning goals. And I will start on the S and the M of the smarter approach to goal planning as well. In a nutshell, the purpose of the goals of why do you do goal planning is that these are action steps to get you to your visions, which are what you want. It is one thing to be able to have a vision of where you're going and where your life will end ultimately. It is another to have step-by-step action plan to get you there. And with goal setting, essentially you have three things to help you. A. Goal planning keep you on track. They are like guardrails preventing you from falling off the cliff or as you are walking along a very thin, uneasy, unbalanced line. These guardrails are for you to hang on to. Goal planning gives you a direction, not just in your athletic life, but also in that of your personal well-being. Now, friends, remember the things that I'm going to share with you today are not just applicable to your running, but they are tips and strategies that you can use as well in your day-to-day ongoing personal life. And finally, goal planning gives yourself a chance to reach for your potential. And that by having these milestones in your life and having reached these milestones, it is actually as good as a pat on your back that well done, you have reached a certain step that you have planned for yourself. Now, if goal planning is really so great, why is it then that people don't set goals? My experience with runners or even non-athletes per se, I would say that it can really be boiled down to three reasons. The first would be ignorance, that people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge, that people don't know the importance and the benefits of goal planning, hence they don't set goals. Laziness, that the soul of a lazy man desires and has nothing. They are too lazy to set their goals. And finally, resignation, which is what a large proportion of people fall into. They live a day-to-day life drifting in and out of society, and that they are running stagnant, their life grows stagnant. Well, doesn't really matters to them. They felt that, well, this is just life lah. They are resigned to it, and these are reasons why people don't set goals. Remember, goal setting is the foundation of your training. Of course, you can say, well, I'm just running for health. I don't have to set goals. Well, you're wrong. Even running for health, your health would then be your goal. So regardless what you're planning to do for 2014 in your races, always remember that the foundation comes from goal planning. Generally, when I sit down with my runners to do the goal planning ahead, I like to work out with them three types of goal. A lot of times we just settle on one goal and bang everything on it. It can be quite dangerous. That's as good as doing a show hand at a casino without even calculating your odds. There are three types of goals, namely the stretch goal, the realistic goal, and the honorable retreat. The stretch goal is an ideal outcome of an ideal situation where your training in a running context, your training goes perfectly fine. Your time that you have set aside was you're able to set aside the amount of time required for your running commitment and that all your races goes well. That is what I call the stretch goal. But of course, since as the name implies, it can only happen in the most ideal situation when all the stars in the galaxy align themselves to your advantage. We need to come down a little bit more to reality, or what I call the realistic goal. The realistic goal is one where you have to take into account situation where there might be factors that might intervene with or interfere with your training, such as family, a newborn in the family, change in schedule, change in job commitments, and things like that, or even falling sick, etc. These are factors that can intervene and affect your training goals, your running goals. So having a realistic goal helps you to manage disappointment should your stretch goal not be met. And finally, the honorable retreat. The honorable retreat is a worst case scenario planning whereby things don't work out as planned in the realistic goal, but yet you are still able to achieve something. You do not resign to fate and say, well, that's it. Even with realistic goal planning, things are not working out well. That's not true, friends. You can always build an honorable retreat to fall back on. Now, if you attend a lot of those live coaching classes, those self-prep talk, they'll always talk about the SMART approach in planning. Of course, I will take things further by making it the smarter approach, but for now, I will not review what is the E and R. For those who have not heard of the SMART approach in goal planning, SMART simply means specific, measurable, action plan, realistic, and time-conscious approach to goal planning. Now, due to time constraint for this session, I won't be going through all the alphabets or components of SMART, but I will only be touching mainly on S and M. Now, let us tackle this from a runner's perspective. When we talk about SMART or the S of SMART, specific, in running, it simply means issues like what distance do you want to do next year? Do you want to focus mainly only on 10Ks, half marathons, or just all marathons, or is it a series of distances that gradually builds up? How many races do you want to do? Once every 2 months, once every 3, or once every 6 months? And are you planning to do these races in Singapore or overseas? But ultimately, which is your main event or events for the year? Now, this is very important, which you must understand, especially for you guys who might be a newbie runner. You can't race too frequently and expect a personal best in all. Some races are meant to be used as rehearsals for big events. Some are used as training scenarios for you to practice your strategies for your real big event. So you have to choose properly which is your main event and what is your desired timing from there, and you work backwards. Number two, measurable. You need to know if you're getting closer to your main goal. It is no point setting a goal and not knowing whether are you moving towards or are you drifting further and further away. So issues like your race timing, they are very good indicators of your improvement. Assuming before you start your training, you did a time trial, a 10 kilometers time trial, in which you clocked 60 minutes. About 3 months later, you managed a 15-minute in a 10 km race. You can be sure that your training plan is working and you are closer and closer to your fitness goal. Or perhaps you can do what I call a fitness test, like a VO2 max or lactate threshold, which gives you physiological indicators of whether are you improving or not. Or other things like the amount of distances you are covering each week before you feel tired. These are indicators, these are measurable factors which you can look at to make sure that you're not drifting away, but rather you're moving forward towards your goal. So coming up next, this weekend, I'll be continuing with the smarter approach in goal planning, the remaining components of the smarter approach, and finally leaving you with daily steps, little tips, little strategies that you can use in your day-to-day training sessions to help improve your training quality. And of course, friendly reminder, the Twilight Ultra Challenge early bird registration will be closing on the 31st of December. So uh, do not wait till the last minute for registration because the system might clash. So if it does, well, just sign up early. And well, see you guys next week then.